I am here with Anne Hogg, who is the writer of Butterfly, which is the first play to open our brand new season in 2015. It opens on Monday, 26th. Hello, Anne.
Hello there, how are you?
Very well, thank
Good.
you. How are you?
I'm fine,
Yeah.
a bit nervous, but
Yeah.
getting there. Yeah.
About the interview or about the play opening?
Both.
You don't need to be nervous about either, I just think, yeah.
We're managing, we'll do it.
Oh, good. So tell us a bit about Butterfly. The
Okay.
title doesn't give a lot away, but I think, yeah,
Okay.
a bit the story and where it came from.
Right, well, it's basically, on the surface, it's the story of a young boy who is caught up in the occupation of the caterpillar factory in Tannockside, Uddingston, when it was announced that there was going to be a closure. And of course, at that time in the mid-80s, it was like the area was ravaged. You know, there was not enough lot of industry left, everything was closing, so he was more or less panicking and doesn't know what he's going to do. So on the evening, on this particular evening, there's a concert going on, and he's just fed up with people laughing and joking and doesn't understand how they can do that when things are so serious. So he takes himself off just to have a think about what he's going to do. He's got problems, he'll go and think about what he's going to do. Sees the water tower and decides this is where he can go, and nobody's going to disturb him, and he'll have time to have a think about it. However,
Don't give it all away.
No,
Yeah.
he's not alone, and therefore that's the basis of it, and it's what happens on the water tower, which is basically forms the play.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Brilliant.
that's it. So yeah.
The two things that really interest me about the play are, firstly, that political and social context of where they come from and that kind of working and what happened at the caterpillar plant. And I think because you've got personal experience of that, that's where that play came from.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing that interests me is actually it's about that relationship between those two men, those two kind of working class men, and talking about their feelings, and that also is that's very interesting about the play, I think. And
yeah, it's you know, it was immersed in the whole thing at the time because my dad worked in it, so therefore we were involved, and he did lose his job and he never worked again because, you know, he was 55 at the time and just wasn't going to work. Yeah. There wasn't work to be done, so so it came from that, and it's just 28 years after the event. It's a really good story. 28 years ago, it was desperate. It was awful, and the area was hit, and thousands of people were out of work and all the rest of it. However, we got through it, and as I say, nowadays it is a good story. When you actually examine it, it's how it ever happened is incredible.
Because it's not like, there were obviously a lot of closures and there's a lot of things in the 80s that also, you know, you could have resonances. But looking at the caterpillar plant, it wasn't like it wasn't successful, and it wasn't that it wasn't making money, and actually,
no, it
was a kind of an arbitrary or a
it was making money. It was a state-of-the-art factory. They'd invested 62 million quid in it, and it was like just a ton of bricks just after Christmas, but it was because they could, I suppose, because, you know, all the other caterpillar factories in Europe and in America, I mean, their governments would have done an awful lot more to keep them than our government, so therefore that's what the big political wrangle was, really. It went on for a long time. The guys just decided, well, they wanted to work, so they did, and they just basically chained themselves in and produced what became the symbol of the occupation was the tractor, and they painted it bright pink because that was the only colour they had, and they just didn't want to do the yellow because it was too much of an association to caterpillars. So therefore it was a very, very curious time for a lot of people. And as I say, 28 years later, well, it closed, and that was that. You know? Yeah.
But so it had a really the outcome was what, but I think there's still something amazing to look at in terms of like people's mobility and like group work and like what, you know, how they reacted to it, and I think that, well,
it became a sort of a micro society within the factory.
They had like social things.
They had an entertainments committee. They had people who were going off and learning about the finances and about benefits and, you know, how to housing benefits and all different things to keep the people going, and they each taught one another what the different skills, like if one person built with this part of the tractor, they would teach somebody else, so they all became, they increased all their skills and they diversified and did all sorts of different things. So when eventually they closed, a lot of guys actually went off and just had completely different lives, you know, and were able to go into different areas that they never ever thought they probably would. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it wasn't the worst time. I mean, at the time it was, but now it wasn't. So yeah, it was a curious time. Yeah.
Yeah. And is this the first play you've written? It's the first play you've had produced?
It's not the first play I've written. I've written a whole load of them.
I was going to say, yeah.
But it's the first play that I've had produced, which is incredible. Which to think that it's on, you know, I'm so grateful for it. So yeah, it's exciting times, and it's great to see the whole procedure and all the sort of how it all works.
Rehearsals.
Oh yeah, it's been great. Really enjoyed that. Yeah,
good.
Excellent.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
But you've been writing in various different contexts, and you are a writer. You were journalist, you've written in lots of different contexts. Tell us a bit about how you come to playwriting and what your interest is. And
okay, well, when I was about 42, I decided to go to uni, and education was the thing. Came out with a degree, out of Glasgow Uni with a degree, no job. That's fair enough. Yeah. Another wee while passed, went back to uni, and this time I did a Masters of Creative Writing at Napier. And after I did it part time, so after a year or so, I more or less decided that, or maybe literature decided that it wasn't for it, because everything I wrote was dialogue. You know, everything I wrote was sort of, it wasn't this sort of author-writerly type of thing, description and all this kind of stuff. It was all very much dialogue, and then when I graduated from there, I thought, no, do you know, I quite fancy it. And I had dabbled with the playwriting prior to that. And when I look back now, it's just horrendous. However, there's lots of ideas there, which I'm going to
go back to.
Yeah.
With the
But, so I decided to try, and eventually came to a point where I was taken on with the Playwright Studio Scotland on their mentoring programme, and that was the whole turning point, because I was given a really, you know, I was teamed up with a really nice, really good writer, Catherine Grosvenor.
She's brilliant.
Yeah, she was, and she just seemed to get me, you know, she just seemed to sort of, and she sort of guided me, and she helped me immensely. So through that 6 months, I actually wrote two plays, whereas before I had this here, there, that and everywhere, and I wasn't focusing on anything. So I was able to focus properly, and I finished Butterfly, and I finished Hijinks, which is still obviously needing a wee bit of rewriting, but I'll go there. But that is how it all sort of came about. Now, after getting it to a point and speaking to all different people about it, I just said, well, I'm going to try it, I'm going to send it now and see how it goes. So you can imagine my surprise when I got the email to say, yeah, that was great. So yeah, so that's how I came about it.
Well, I think we're delighted to be opening our season with it. I think, you know,
great
it's a really good, strong play with lots of interesting dialogue, and you know, it's political, and you're a new writer, so it's, you know, it's all the things that we love to celebrate. So it's good.
The faith and to take it on, and to trust me and to let me do it. But yeah, it's been great.
That'd be good, right? I think we have to go and watch a run of it now, so we better
I would love to do that.
Yes. So brilliant. Right.
Okay,
Thanks very much.
Thank you.